If you're an African American, a woman from any part of the world trying to build something, leading to something, or trying to understand the world you're operating in, this podcast is for you. Hi, I'm Iman. I am the co-founder of Naserian Axis.
And hi, I'm Jamila, also co-founder of Naserian Axis.
Welcome to Naserian Rises. And today we're with Elon, the woman who brings culture to the community. So Elon, welcome. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. Please tell us about you and tell us what inspired Culture Meets Community.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Iman and Jamila. I'm super excited to be here and talk more about Culture Meets Community and our alignment there. I started Culture Meets Community in March of 2026, so really a couple of months ago. And it came out of sort of different inspirations for me. I think at the time it was right after Operation Metro Surge, and that was a difficult time for all of us here in Minnesota. And I know there's a strong East African community here. I think for me, I realized after those events that although we were kind of all facing similar challenges, we weren't there for each other as a community. I know our Somali neighbors were facing a big portion of that. And I was thinking, what did we do as a community, as an Ethiopian community, to support them? So kind of realized that there was a gap there. During that time, I was thinking about, I'm an amateur writer, so thinking about, I want to publish my work, but I want it to be in spaces that fully encapsulate who I am, right? I want it to be in magazines. So I was looking for places to publish some writings that I've done. And I think it was in that moment that I realized, like, wow, none of these spaces really reflect my identity as an Ethiopian, as an East African, as an American, and a diaspora. Like all of these, I wanted all of that to be encapsulated. And I think that's kind of that when I had the idea for the art pop-up that I'm doing in August. But also it just made me realize that we need spaces as East Africans. We have such a strong community in Minnesota, but we operate completely in silos when we could really take that as, it could be an opportunity to kind of celebrate one another, learn more about the culture, just curate really cool spaces where we feel like we truly belong, where we could bring our complicated, complex selves to that space. So that's kind of the inspiration for me for creating it.
Why East African art? Why not African art? What was the essence of East African art just by itself? Are we going back to bringing ourselves in silos again if we're saying East African art?
That's a really good question. I think for me, like this was probably a personal journey. West African culture is so strong as a unit. Across the nation, we could talk about Afrobeats, we could talk about Jollof Wars, but we never talk about East Africa as like we share borders and we share community and our people travel between countries. We share even some types of food, but we don't really get to celebrate that. And I wanted to highlight what are the things that make us similar and what are the things that make us different as a region. But also I wanted to learn more about my neighbors because they also live here, but we're also neighbors back on the continent, right? Yeah. So just wanted to find spaces to highlight what are our similarities because we share so much in terms of our culture and politics and a lot of things, even our ethnic groups. Some ethnic groups exist in two lands, and that's something that I'm learning as I'm going through this journey. So that's been super fascinating.
It's true that the East African culture itself, we're rich and there's diversity. The food is amazing. There's so much that we are not vocalizing about ourselves. Is it that East Africans are minimalist? Like, are we like, because we're from Tanzania. Jamila and I are from Tanzania, so that's what I'm saying. Are we like putting ourselves in a box of some sort, Because, yeah.
I mean, I feel like East African culture and tendencies, we tend to be more introverted in terms of we're not outward. Yeah. We don't have the outward perspective. We're not loud and we're not like pushing our, narrative or promoting ourselves in that same fashion that maybe West Africans do, kind of navigating that, still being able to promote our culture and showing that we exist, highlighting the values and what we have to offer as well. and seeing how we navigate along our cultural lines and limitations, I think that is best. And this initiative, Culture Meets Community, is also very interesting to see how we can also promote our art in that way.
Right.
Having said that, how are you able to navigate between your East African identity and the American identity, as you have both?
Mm-hmm.
How are you navigating that, and how does that also translate with the art and the Culture Meets Community? Yeah.
It's always been a challenge, honestly. I think you all can speak to it too. I feel like once we enter the United States, each of us individually navigates it completely differently. Some of us like retain some parts of our original culture, and some of us assimilate quickly, or some of us hold a little bit of both. And that's why I think we have such a unique sort of we're called third culture kids, because we occupy a third space where we're kind of taking bits of everything, right? And trying to create like a belonging and a community and a home for ourselves that is different than our parents, but something that's completely new to us. So I think for me, the Culture Meets Community is that space. I am so curious to see how different people have created this home for themselves here in a way that makes sense, where you're still able to maintain the integrity of our home cultures, but also able to kind of operate in the United States, because it's a culture shock, it's a culture shift, and our parents can't really help us navigate through it, those of us who came younger. So we have to figure out, okay, what works for me? Because you also could get completely lost through assimilation, right? You can completely assimilate and abandon our cultures, and it happens, but kind of have to find that sweet spot. And for me, I think that's been a long journey of finding what are things that I want to still keep from my Ethiopian culture, and what are things that I think it does not fit me here. You know, it doesn't really work for me. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of good things that we have from our culture that we can merge it into where we are at now. As parents, that's our biggest concern. Jamila and I have kids.
Yeah.
And we are always having conversations where, how do we bring that East African, Tanzanian culture, the Swahili culture with our kids,
Right.
without them feeling like I need to assimilate, I need to adapt.
Right.
It's always a plus speaking a different language, not just English. It's always a plus to have a different cultural background and take all the good things that you've learned from, leave the bad ones, of course, but all the good ones, because there's a lot of good things about our cultures.
Yes.
In East African culture, we might be different by our tones, our hair, and everything else, maybe our food, but there are things that bring us together, and they're the same. Like, there are teachings that our parents, our grandparents have taught us that still apply up to date. So it's neither one nor the other. You can have both and be proud about it. And I like the fact that you have Culture Meets Community to showcase the East African culture to people who do not really know anything about East Africa.
Right.
It's not just the safaris. There's people there, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. There's people there. It's not just the Ethiopian mountains or the museum. I've been to Ethiopia, so Debrecen maybe. So there's much more to Ethiopia. There's much more to Tanzania than the safaris. There's the Mount Kilimanjaro and the Serengeti. There's a lot of culture and good things and things that we need to showcase.
Yes.
So I like the fact that you have this platform, and I really, I'm in support of it 100%.
No, thank you. No, I think, I think like you say, I wanted this space to kind of capture the complexity. Like we are way more than the things you mentioned, and we are so complex. And I think we have to be in community with one another to kind of uncover that complexity, because otherwise we're just painted as like, oh, East Africa, like you said, safaris and like, you know, Ethiopian food or whatever. And that's not all of who we are. So yes. And then, and I came when I was 10. So it was very similar. I think it was survival for the longest time. So you're trying to survive in a new culture. And then eventually you're like, whoa, I miss my own culture. So that's, you kind of eventually start to reintegrate back the things that you kind of lost along the way.
At what point did you think that, okay, now I need to go back to my culture? When you're 10, I feel
Yeah.
like you feel like, nah, if I'm Ethiopian more than American, I'm going to be cast out or left aside or whatnot.
Right.
So you want to adapt as much. That's what I see with my daughter. That's why I'm
Yes.
saying this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
At what point did you feel like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need my Ethiopian side?
Yeah.
It's important. When did you realize that?
I feel like for a lot of us, it's always that first trip back home. You know, the first trip after coming back and you go back home and you get to kind of re-experience your culture all over again, the people, the food, everything. That's when it clicks for you. I'm like, whoa, like I'm so much bigger than, you know, like who I am. Because here you're really you're shrinking yourself to fit into a new culture, right? You're like hiding parts of your identity or kind of your existence. But when you go back, you get to embrace that. So I think it's after my first trip back, which was in high school, I fully was like, whoa, I really need to reintegrate back into who I am. And honestly, since then, it's continued. I even did my honors thesis research in university in Ethiopia. So I got to travel back to Ethiopia on a grant and do that. So it has not stopped since then. I've been truly passionate about like finding ways to integrate.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very interesting. I love that experience and flashback of how you managed and being an inspiration to other people and other listeners or younger people who have moved here and are trying to navigate the two spaces.
Yes.
But let's also speak about art, because art in East Africa, like at least like recollection in Tanzania specifically, is not given as much weight.
Mm.
Like there's different styles of art that are even famous worldwide from Tanzania, like, i.e. Tinga Tinga. And we also have sculptures, specific dark black sculptures for different things, and they're called vinyagos, and the masks. So there's also like specific art that has been boxed in as East African art, but looking at art generally as a cultural movement, looking at art as activism, looking at art as something that is like a serious profession that should be given much weight and should be given much support and funds. And even just consideration from the government to create more spaces and encourage more youth to be in art, because there's also this fallacy to perceive like different professions highly, the doctor, lawyer professions, than people who are in the art space. If you could tell us more about your reflection of promoting art, culture, and transformation within the community.
Yeah. This is a really, really excellent question, you know, and that's why I felt like we needed space for art. I feel like art tells our stories, right? Whatever format it comes in, it tells the stories of who we are, who we were, and where we're going. And there are a lot of brilliant artists here that are not necessarily getting platform, but also like younger and newer and up and coming, or people, like you said, I think African diaspora as a whole, like we're encouraged to pursue more of the doctor, those routes, the doctor, engineer, lawyer. Those are the three in Ethiopian cultures. We're encouraged to pursue those, but not art. But art really, truly tells our story, right? I think we really need those spaces. We need to highlight those spaces so we can continue to tell our story. And art is truly the best way to do it. So showcasing and creating this platform for artists to come tell their stories is a reflection of all of our stories here in East Africa, but also on the continent. Art is really like an incredible tool. It's a tool of activism, a tool of belonging, a tool to say that we are here. So yeah, I think that's probably why I value art so much. Also, we could use it to heal from a lot of things. I talk a lot about like decolonizing, and art is one way that we decolonize. Art is one way we heal from that pain. We heal with each other in community. So that's kind of my hope with creating the space. And I hope to continue doing that in different other platforms as well.
I love that. And especially would want you to touch more on the decolonization and changing narratives, because we talk a lot about this and the narratives that are out there about East Africans, Africans in general, and how it's important to use art and be out there to change these negative narratives
Yes.
that are untrue. But we know this now then transfers to misinformation, disinformation, and also direct contributor towards violence. Can you talk more about that intersection? And maybe for the audience who don't have so much background of what that means, if you can explain to them in a simplistic way, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess I see decolonization as a practice of kind of going back to, I guess we can't go back, but undoing the damage and the violence that has occurred to us and our people because of colonization. So healing from that damage, decolonizing to me is the process of healing from that. So that means we have to unlearn some of the harmful things that we have learned either about ourselves or our people or our continent. Anti-Blackness, that's so prevalent in our community. I can't speak to everybody, all East Africa, but I think in the Ethiopian community, it's pretty prevalent. And ethnic wars. Ethnic wars are also in the political turmoil. All of that is rooted in colonialism. These are all the impacts of colonialism and the borders that we have and how we fight over borders. That's also part of the reason why we're not in community so much. Through this process with Culture Meets Community, I want us to kind of start to bridge those gaps. How did we get here? How can we heal from this? How can we kind of move past ethnic wars? And how can we move past political destabilization? Those are bigger questions, obviously, but it starts with being in community with one another, having conversations where we're all on the same page about, wow, colonization did a number on us. We need to heal from this, recognizing that and creating those spaces for us to heal. And art is a brilliant way to do it, obviously.
And yeah, that was amazing. And I'm looking at Bob Marley at the back, and I'm like,
yes,
I remember one of his songs. It says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And that's what's really blocking us because we box ourselves. We put ourselves in a box, and then it's so hard to come out of that box if you put yourself in there.
Right.
Yes. We have opportunities. And I like the fact that we can use the challenges, the obstacles, and create opportunities towards that.
Right.
And I like the fact that we are challenged. We are minorities, but we're not letting the fact that we are minorities box us and tell us what to do.
Right.
We'll move beyond what we already, whatever we feel like our capacities are.
Thank you so much, Elon. The greater work that needs to be done in terms of using art, using community networking in order to work on fundamental issues, but having that community and having a platform where you could be creative and having a creative outlet, for instance, and I'm guessing the Culture Meets Community would be acting as a creative outlet, but also awareness raising, also correcting the narrative, for instance, is very powerful. What would be your advice to other women or other African diaspora or Americans in general that do want to work in impact and do want to maybe use art to be impactful? Or what would be your advice on them getting started or them finding their purpose?
I'm going to speak based off my experience with this, but since it's new, just in general, the biggest thing that I'm finding out, the biggest advice I would give is probably having community. That is really at the core of how you really can succeed. Having people in your corner that say, wow, I see your vision. I agree with your vision. I want to help you. I started this out on my own, on a whim, but I realized I'm not going to get far without the support of other people. And thankfully, community members and partners have reached out and said, wow, I love what you're doing. Let's collaborate. So I think that's the biggest one, is having a good partners, good community members that align with your vision. That's kind of at the core of succeeding.
What's your experience been on access to funding, credibility, and translation across cultures?
I feel like a lot of those things I'm still trying to figure out. This is totally a self-funded thing for now, but I do know there are resources, and you two probably know, and Iman probably really knows well what resources there are for African. There's the African Economic Development Center here that supports Africans wanting to start businesses. Hennepin County, the counties have free business advice. like creating an LLC. There's all of that. And I think it would be great to consult with somebody. It's free consultation. So support like that is truly helpful. But the biggest challenge for me has been finding spaces that are East African, because I want to have these events and spaces that are East African, but it's been really difficult actually finding spaces that can accommodate us, and strengthening those partnerships is probably the most difficult because people have not done it yet. So when I'm approaching them, they're like, oh, I don't think we're ready for that, or I don't think we can accommodate that. So I think building those relationships is super important, but also tapping into the resources that already exist. There are a lot that exist that I still have to kind of tap into. But yeah, I think doing a little bit of research and connecting with the resources that are out there, so you're not starting from scratch with everything, I'm sure there's a lot of funding to have out there. So
yeah, thank you so much for the experience. And I think Iman will probably talk more about what Naserian Axis part is for organizations and how we assist in terms of like business development and fundraising, like that service line.
Wow.
And we're open for any organization starting up and having challenges to assist on that part.
Naserian Axis, we help people with compliance, website designing, website building. Like if you're getting started and you're looking for a firm, people to help you out, get started with operation agreements, website design, just starting up in general. I understand that Hennepin County has that aspect with the advice, but we can help with the technical bits of it, get you started and get you moving. So if you're a person who's looking for an advisory firm, consultancy that can help you with business development from when you're starting to getting it started to tapping into the grants, because sometimes people don't really know what to do with grant portals or how to get by when it comes to the emailing, the templates, what you should be using. And there's that basic advice where you're getting started. But if somebody puts you on your feet and you have to start running, how do you run? So if you want to run, you run with us, okay? If you want to take charge and get yourself out there and place yourself in positions where if a donor right now wants to fully fund you, you have your systems in place. You, not just the compliance bit that the government needs, you have like check systems, because people have to check and know that you're trustworthy to be able to operate and to manage the funds that they're giving you. And then you're going to be able to report back. So we're the people that does that for you, if that's the English word. Just in a nutshell, because today we are talking about Culture Meets Community, tell us more about the art exhibition. I really want to hear more about it because it's an event that is coming up. How has it been, the support that you've been getting from different people? Are these people family? Are these people just individuals? Because, most of the times we think that family is the one who's going to start supporting you and like the idea. If you have an idea, you tell it to your mom and you think your mom is going to be, yes, I love the idea. But then your mom is not the person who's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Nah, and sometimes if we do listen to, and I'm sorry, mom, but if we do listen to our parents, sometimes they're not really giving us the right direction. So who are your supporters? Who are the people that came through for you? What road did you take?
Yes.
Because it's in August.
Yeah.
Yes. August is coming in fast and hot.
Yes.
And we need to know. Yeah.
Yeah. To answer that question, I think it's honestly complete strangers that saw the vision and loved the vision, really. They are that's been the most supportive. So for an example, is a restaurant that I worked with for the first event I hosted, which was a networking event. And the owner of that restaurant was actually super helpful, loved the idea, and he encouraged me. He said, keep doing this. We really needed this. And he said, we are super happy to partner with you. And he's connected me to other people that are also in a similar space, curating events, spaces like these, and building culture and community. So that was a really great connection that came because I just reached out and I was like, I need space to host this thing. And he said, yeah, come through. And they did an excellent job. So people like that have been super helpful. And it's the same thing with the art. show. It's complete strangers. When I posted the ad saying, wow, I'm putting an art pop-up together. If you're an artist, reach out. And people would inbox me saying, I want to get involved somehow. I want to volunteer. I want to take pictures. I would like to submit my artwork. So yeah, it's just complete strangers. The family has been supportive, but obviously I think like you said, Iman, they're always like, is this a good idea? Is this where your money should be going? Is this where your resources or your energy should be going right now? You get all of that. But thankfully, my parents have been super supportive. They see the vision and they're like, okay, if that's what you want to do. So I feel like I have to prove it and say, yeah, this is worth the energy and the effort.
Yeah, so there is a saying back in Tanzania where they say nabii hakubaliki kwa. Prophet is never accepted where he's from because they know you.
Yeah.
When people don't really understand because they know you, so they've seen you grow up, they see all of these things, and they don't really understand it. So they're like, is this really a good idea? Not because they're doubting you and your capabilities, it's because they don't really understand where it's taking you. This is for the people who are listening. Look at the world through somebody else's eyes instead of looking at it through your eyes, or looking at the person first before looking at the concept. And that's what people tend to do. They look at the person that they're talking to, and because I know you and I know your jokes and your downfalls and whatever, I look at you as that person before I can look at the concept that you bring with you. And it's really good that you kept on going. We love you, family, but we know that you're not always going to be the first people to support us when it comes to things, but we still love you.
No, thank you, man. I think it's very good to hear that from Elon that she did get support, even though sometimes support doesn't come to us in the way that we think it's going to come to us. So maybe the expectation from a lot of people is that your closest people, your family, are going to be your biggest supporters. But like Iman was saying, if people do not understand or don't see your vision from your perspective, then it's hard for them to support you. They might be thinking that, oh, putting you in a box yet again. And that's where you shouldn't let that limit you. You will find your community and your supporters along the way. You should always keep pushing on into your vision and until it manifests. But yeah, and also take it in strides, because family and friends, or close family and friends who don't understand what you're trying to do or trying to build, eventually will understand if you debunk it for them, or when they see it actually, manifest, they might, see what exactly you were working on. Having that expectation at the start and kind of wanting to force it is probably not the best way.
My biggest values is just keep going until you're going. Don't give up. Even when you don't really hear the voices that you really want to hear. Most of the times it's like you want people to support you right there and then because you have this brilliant idea. In your head, it sounds like a brilliant idea, but if the people don't understand it, again, you will not get the support. Now, if you don't get the support that you think you need, do you move forward or do you quit? I like the fact that you still took charge and kept going. And that's the mentality that we all need. Shout outs to the restaurant that supported you. I don't know what restaurant it is, but tell us where it is so we can go and eat there because we need people like that. Most of the times, God will always raise somebody up for you. People other than the people that you're used to fight for you. And there are people that you will not know their names. You will not know anything about them, but when you're not in the room, they will speak for you. Oh, back to you, Elon. What do you think are the major setbacks for your journey?
I think instead of setback, more of a challenge is getting people to come out. Jamila said this earlier, but our community is pretty shy. We are reserved and people are still timid about coming out. So I think drawing people out of their comfort zone to be in community with one another, because it's such a new initiative, that's been the biggest challenge. But for anybody listening, I challenge you to become a little uncomfortable so that you get more comfortable later on. I think being in community can be uncomfortable because you don't know who the people are, what they're going to be like, what the situation is. That's one of the bigger challenges for Culture Meets Community as a whole, is drawing people in. But you'll have a good time, I promise. And then the other one for me personally has been managing my expectations. Iman, you said this earlier. I have this vision and this idea of what something is going to look like. But, things change constantly, depending on who shows up for you, who's aligning with the vision. And you have to be flexible to that. I think you cannot be so rigid around like, this is what I expect. And if it doesn't work, that's a failure. I'm going to stop right now. I had those thoughts, but then you'd have that one random person who'd inbox me and say, wow, I love what you're doing. Keep going. Literally, there are some people who just inbox to say that. And then, conversations with like Iman, the phone conversation that we had. And I was super inspired after that. And small things like that, small people showing up, that's like divine intervention is what I call it for me. Divine intervention along the way that tells me, oh, okay, I'm on the right track. Keep going. Even if it's going to reach 5 people, however many people it's going to reach, there's a need for it. So it's going to reach them and that's good enough. So if the vision is good, it will work out. Something in you tells you, wow, this is a really good idea. So yeah.
Yeah, it will all make sense one day. Everything that you're putting in right now, I'm praying for the outcome, like the people who come out to the art exhibition, to be as many as they can. Like the room may be full until you can't handle the people and say, oh my God, I overlooked this. But if this doesn't turn out the way you anticipated, do not give up, because you always have to start somewhere and build towards that. People start businesses and they don't make it the way they think that they should make it. And they work years without making it. But then one day a miracle happens. I don't know if they change strategy or whatnot. Something big comes up. So not giving up is the way to go. Now, I'll pose another question. What do you want the people to remember about Elon?
Ooh, deep question. I want them to remember me for holding spaces. I was going to go with creating community, but you can't really create a community. The people create the community, right? So I want people to remember that I love community, first of all. And I think that is the way to healing, to anything really, to making progress. And I want them to remember that I'm willing to hold these spaces, super loving spaces that will honor people for who they are. I want people to know that and to feel confident that I will do that. So yeah, that's probably the biggest one, because that's what my intention is with Culture Meets Communities, to create these spaces for people to kind of flourish and to be themselves.
Jamila, do you have anything else to add or ask before we wind up? I have one more question to ask.
Love the reflections, love the lessons. I would just want to add, like, this is specifically something that might help audience and anyone who's in the position where they want to work to build something for themselves in the community cultural space or art space. What have you learned about leadership, sustainability, and community building that you had wished maybe somebody had told you before you began your journey?
I might be early in my journey for that, but I think I would say for me, like being clear on my vision so that I know who to partner with. People might approach you. Different types of people might approach you with their own idea and with their own vision. But if you're not clear, you could get lost in there. So being clear allows you to find the right partners where you will have successful relationships, right? Relationships that can kind of fit both partners' vision. So I think being clear on your vision is super key. And it's also important for how you lead. If you have a team in the beginning, I would have people reach out and I wouldn't be sure if it's a good partnership. So I think just kind of having that clarity really, really helps finding the appropriate partners.
The first question would be, what's your favorite Ethiopian food? And the second one would be, what word or phrase in Ethiopian, and you'll have to say it in Amharic or in whatever language you speak, that you would want us to go away with today. And then the third one would be the dates for the East African Art Exhibition and the place, and just general information about the event itself.
Okay. Love this question. All of these questions. The first one, my favorite Ethiopian food, it changes throughout, my lifetime. But right now it's dibs. So it's the meat that's like diced and cooked. Yeah. So love, love, love it. If I go out, I'll order it. Even at home, I try to have that a lot. And the Ethiopian word that I want to leave folks with is fikr. It means love, and I think at the core of what I'm doing, like love's at the core of like what I'm doing. So I want people to walk away with that. And then the last one is the East African Art Pop-Up is going to be August 8th, this summer 2026. It's going to be 3 to 6 p.m. at the Wilderness Co-working and Fitness Space. So it's going to be in Minneapolis.
If you're in Minnesota, if you're traveling to Minnesota, if you're planning to be in Minnesota in August, please join us at the East African Art Exhibition. It's going to be amazing. And come and bring your fikir, bring your love.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both for having me.
And we want you to do right now, we want you to tag young girls who you think will benefit from our stories. If they're stay-at-home moms, if they're immigrants like us, if they're people who are trying to juggle through their careers, if they just tag them, let them see this information. Don't just sit with the information by yourself and be selfish. Don't be selfish. Tag them on Instagram. Tell us your story on the comment sections. If you want to be part of our guests, we want to hear from you. If you're an immigrant who's living in anywhere in the world, anywhere, as long as you moved from one country to somewhere else, tell us, how did you navigate? How did you make it? We know there's so many people of African ethnicity who have made it in different parts of the world. We want to see you. We want to hear from you. So check us out, okay?
Yeah.
And give us a thumbs up and likes and review. I don't know, whatever.
Subscribe, thumbs up, follow us on our socials. Yeah.
We need
all
them.
those things. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to us.
Until next time.